By default, when you are installing an operating system, you are always required to enter a username and a password. In this video, I bring to you the user and group management in the Linux environment. We are going to look at some commands such as how to create users, how to delete users, and how to create groups and add users to those groups. My name is Nelson, and I request you to please click the subscribe button and the notification bell for every video I upload, plus clicking the like and share the channel to many as possible. The first thing we are going to try out is the sudo command, written as sudo, and this command is simply a super user do. To use this command, you need to be a super user of that system. One of the ways we can use this sudo command is updating our system. When we want to update our system, we simply run this command sudo apt, and I'm using a Debian based operating system which is Ubuntu, and it is using the apt package manager. And this apt-get update is simply updating our repositories from which we are going to fetch our complete updates for every program we have on our system. Since sudo is a super user command, you have to enter the password for the super user for you to run this command. And since this is my machine, I know the password for this super user, and I enter the password for this super user. When you press enter, it's going to compare the password with that one saved in the /etc/password file to see if those two hashes match. If your password hashes do not match, it will not execute this command, but it will prompt you to enter your password 3 times. When you enter your password wrongly 3 times, sudo will just prompt out of this and give you back the terminal, and we can try that and see. It will hash the password. After hashing the password, compares the hash, and it is not the hash, it prompts back for us to enter the password. We again type a wrong password and we press enter. The process continues. Now you see that we have 3 incorrect password attempts we have tried out. When we run this command and we enter the correct password for this super user and press enter, we see now that we have connected to the repositories from which we are to update our programs running on the system. One of them is this archive.ubuntu.com. These are some of the repositories from which I am going to fetch my downloads for my programs on this machine. So that is what super user does. And after updating your packages, after updating your repositories, you can update your packages, and you run sudo apt get upgrade. One thing you must note is that when you enter your sudo password in this terminal, let us open another terminal for this. We now have 2 terminals, this and the other terminal. In this terminal, we have entered the super user password. When you enter the super user password, Bash will open for you a session for that time. As long as you are using the terminal, the session will be open for you. It will not require you to enter the super user password again, but you need to write the sudo command on any command you want the super user to run. Since our session is open by this time and you are still in the time range for our session to be open, when I press enter, it's going to run smoothly. And this is what we see, that it is running smoothly because our session is open to run this command. And as you can see, it first of all reads all the packages in our system. After reading them, it tries to build the dependencies of our packages we have on our system. Then it tries to fetch the information from the repositories. These are the many programs that need to be updated on our system. When you look at this, after this operation, it will take up some disk space of 22.6 MBs. I'm going to prompt out of this because it may take some time to do the upgrade. Press Ctrl C to prompt out. And if I go back to this terminal, we have not yet opened any super user session. So if I try to run sudo apt get and then upgrade, I'm going to be requested to enter the password, and if I press enter, you see that I am prompted to enter the password. But in this one, when I said upgrade and I pressed enter, I was not prompted to enter the password because the session is still live, and if I press once again, it will execute because the session is still open. But in this terminal, there is no any live or open session for this super user, and if we enter the password here and it is the correct password, it will open that session, and that is what the super user does. When we look at this home directory, we see that we have this subdirectory called this user subdirectory. We always use social media and we have profiles in these social media platforms like Facebook, and this profile you have on your Facebook is like the same profile you have in your own machine. When I was installing this operating system and requested me to enter the password and the username, it created a home directory. It was like creating for me a profile to use in this machine as nearly the same profile you have on your Facebook page, but here it is your operating system you are dealing with, so it creates for you a profile from which you are going to do all your other activities. We only have one user for this system. In the home directory is where we do almost everything. Look at the home. You can do anything at home without any limitation, but when you go to your place of work, you are limited to do what you must do there. You cannot play games at your place of work because you went to work, but at home you can do anything. You can play games, you can eat, you can take a shower, you can do anything of choice at home. You have freedom to do anything, but when you go to your place of work, you are limited to do what you must do there for you to be paid at the end of the month. And likewise, this is the same thing. In the home directory, we can add as many user environments as we want. Like a home has different rooms. We can make different user profiles from which we can do any work. By this, we want to add a new user, and when adding this new user, we simply use the sudo command and we say sudo user add -m. When you look at this command, we have simply run the sudo, the super user do command. This user add is helping us to create a new user in our system, and that is why you see it is called user add. We are adding a new user to our system, and we have this -m switch. The -m is helping us create a subdirectory like you see this one. S is telling this command to add the bash shell as the default shell for this new user we are creating. In the Linux environment, we have three types of shells: the bourne shell, sh, bourne, again shell, the bash, z shell, zsh. This one is the oldest of all these shells in the Linux environment we are having, and this shell lacked some modern friendly features such as command history. When we come back to our command line, if I press the up arrow key, we are going to get these commands we have so far run in this terminal. I can track this history, but for the bourne shell, it could not track that history. Bash was simply an evolution of the bourne shell. As you see the name, most of the environments use the bash shell because this bash shell can track the history of every command you have used on your system. This Z shell is most commonly used in Mac operating systems. When we come back to our command, we have chosen the bash shell to be the default shell for our new user. This -c is helping us to add a description for our new user, and this is the new username we are adding to the system. And then we press enter. The terminal has prompted us for a password because we are past the time for which the session must be open for this super user. We enter the password for this user and we press enter. The command has executed successfully because we have not gotten any error message. When we say ls, we see now that we have this new user directory. After adding this new user, we need to set a password for this new user, and we simply use the sudo command to add a new password for this user, and we say sudo pass wd new user and press enter. Enter a strong password. We retype the password. If both passwords are correct, it will hash the password and send a success message. And this new user has a password. When we run tail -n, we want to see the last line of /etc password and press enter. We have this new user appended to our password file, and this is the username we gave to this user, and this is the description of full name we gave to this user. And this user has their own directory and they are using the bash shell, and that is it all about with this user. We want to switch between these two users, and how do we do this? We simply use a command called su switch user. This is this user's username in this environment. When we switch to the new user, you will see that this is going to change to the new user's username, and we want to switch to the new user. When we press enter, the system requires us to enter the password, and the password we enter here is the password for this target user, and we press enter. We have now switched to this user, from this user's environment to this new user's environment, and you see their name selected at the extreme left, and that is how you confirm that you are in any user's environment. When we list this, we see that we have nothing. This tilde sign shows that we are at the root of the home directory for this new user. That's why when we list the contents here, we don't see anything, because this user has not yet done anything in their directory. We can try to make some directories and files here. Make a directory called, let us say, new, and we press enter. When we list, we see that it has been created. When we create a new file and we say new.txt and press enter, then we list the contents, we see that they are created in this user's environment, and this means that we are not in the home directory of the system, but we are in this user's home directory. When we go back one step, we are now in the home directory of the system, and that is where we find these two users. The /home has been selected different from this tilde. Now we want to switch back to this user, and we simply say su minus and then L3 autocomplete, and we press enter. We enter the password for this user and we press enter. You see now that we have this user. We have switched from the new user to this user and back to this user's environment. When we list the contents, this user has some contents in their directory, and when we go back a step to the home directory, we see that we have these two subdirectories, and this is how you can switch between these two users. You can also use the sudo command and say sudo su minus, and we are entering this new user and we press enter. We have not been asked for a password because the session is still open, and that is how we can add a new user to the Linux environment. We want to create a new group to which we can add this new user we have just created, and we say sudo group add, let us say, learners, and press enter. The group learners is created in our system. We want to add our user to the learners group, and we can say sudo user mode -a and capital G learners. We are adding the new user to this group. This command simply says this is sudo we know, this is user modify. We are modifying a user, and we are using a -a. This -a is simply appending. We are appending to that group, and this G, this capital G, is the group. We are appending to the group, and this is the learners group. we are appending this user, and then we press enter. Our session is still open. When registered in a system, you hold a certain ID for you to be recognized in that system, and this system uniquely identifies you using the ID it assigned to you. When we say ID, we want to look at the ID of this user. We have the UID, and this is the user ID, and this is the ID this system gave to our user. This GID is the group ID, and this is the ID the system gave to our user. These are the different other groups this user was appended to. After creating the new user and a new group and appending that new user to that new group, we want to see now what we have done, whether it has actually taken place. When we look at our newly created user, the user ID is 1003, and this is the unique identifier of this user. In this one we had 1000 for the user ID, this user. Then this group ID is identifying this user based on the user ID that was assigned to this user, which is the 1000. Likewise, the same thing here. This group ID is identifying this user based on the ID this user has in the system, and these are the other groups this user belongs to. This user now belongs to the group learners which we have just created. Let us say we are deleting the group learners, sudo group del learners, and we press enter. Then we run id new user. We don't have the learners group. This user is not assigned to that group because it is being deleted from the system. We can create a new group and we say sudo group add Linux learners. After pressing enter, we want to add our user to the group, and we simply say sudo user mod -small a. We are appending the user to the groups Linux learners new user, and we press enter. After pressing enter and we run id new user, this user is appended to the learners group. We can again delete this new group we have created, group del Linux learners, id new user. This user only belongs to his own group. By default, Linux creates your own group. You first belong to your own group, then after belonging to your own group, you can also then belong to other groups. After you being your own group, then we carry you to other groups. We append you to other groups. That is what simply Linux does. When we are deleting directories and we are using rm -r, this r is recursive, deleting everything. We want to delete the user we have just created in the system. We say sudo user del, and then we are using r new user. And what this command simply says is that this is sudo super user, we are deleting user del, we are deleting, and we are using the -r. The -r is the recursive deletion. We want to delete everything that belongs to this user, and we press enter. We tried deleting everything belonging to this user, and while deleting everything, we got this message: this user has not sent or received any messages from anywhere. id new user, and press enter. We see now that id new user, no such user. When we list this directory, we see that we don't have this user's directory anymore. We only have this directory. That means this user completely deleted from our system. When we set tail, then -n and 1/etc password, you see that we now have this Redis user but no new user in our system. Or we can set tail -n 10/etc password. We see that we don't see this user. A quick recap of what we have done in this video. We have looked at the sudo command. It is the super user do command. You need to be a super user to use this command, and you can use this command to update every repository on our system by using sudo apt-get update, and you can also use sudo apt-get upgrade to upgrade every package we have on our system. We can use sudo to create new users by simply using sudo user add -m for a home directory to be created for this new user, -s to choose a default shell for this user, and then -c to enter the full names of the new user and the new user name for this user. And we can also use sudo to change the password of the new user, and we say sudo pswd the new user, then we enter the new password, we retype the new password. Linux confirms. After confirming, hashes the password, appends the user to the /etc file. We looked at the /etc file. We looked at how to use sudo to create groups using group add and the new group name. We used sudo to also delete any created groups. We also used sudo to delete any user like this. We also used sudo to modify the user by adding the user to a new group. I thank you for being attentive. As you continue sharing the channel, please click the notification bell and like the channel. Thank you. We catch up in the next video.